What's up, guys? My name is Isaac Poti. I'm the host of the Tales from the Tailboard podcast. Today, I have with me Cameron, a paramedic and professional counselor out of Kansas. And today, we're going to talk about just, what it's like to be a counselor, what it's like to be a paramedic, what it was like for him when he was on the streets, and all of those years of expertise and just learning experience, and now what he's doing now. So, Cameron, thanks for coming on, man. You're known as the mental health medic. I've been watching your videos for quite a while. You seem to care a ton about the person itself and not so much the job, which I think in perspective you care for both. But what I personally take away from this is you have to take care of the person, because if the person isn't taken care of, the job can't be taken care of.
Yes. Um, and I think that's both all of the above. I guess my philosophy is like, you're a person, right? As a provider, you're a person.
Hmm.
You are working with people and you're taking care of people. So no matter where you're at on that scope of, being an EMT or an AMT or a paramedic, an EMR, a volunteer firefighter, a nurse, PA, whoever, you're a human being.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you are taking care of human beings, and you are working next to, on the truck, on the ambulance, on whatever apparatus you're on. You're working with a human being, and I think we lose sight of that in society as a whole, but as providers and practitioners, we tend to look at and go, oh, I'm a paramedic, this is my EMT. I'm an EMT, this is my paramedic.
Good. Instead of like, so breaking it down more or less, like getting to know the person intimately, in it per se, instead of just like, hey, this is my paramedic. Like, this is my paramedic. His name's Cameron. I'm with this guy 12 hours a day, 3-4 times a week, and like, I'm with him more than he's with his own family.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if it's just one shift, one patient, one whatever, you're still a human.
Mm-hmm. What part in your expertise, like your experience, what point were you being a paramedic or whatever the case may be during these times where you said, I want to switch gears and I want to be more focused on people than I am the job?
Oh man, that's a tough question. That's a good question.
I feel like a lot of us
Um,
start off with, I want to do this job. I want to help people, but I want to go fast in the wee woo truck, and I want to play with all these cool tools and whatnot. And a lot of us are for the job, for the person, but I like where your mind went, and you went, I've got to be more on that person, people oriented aspect.
so that's a really tough question. It's a good one. I think looking back on my life, like, right, I'm 42.
Hmm.
I've lived one life, but I feel like I've lived many lives. And growing up, I'm the oldest of six. I joined the army I had my son was born when I was 19. Joined the army, and it was a very altruistic, like, oh, I'm going to go take care of the people in 2004. Somebody
What'd you do
needs
in
to
the army?
stand up. I was a forward observer for the artillery. So you've got the like big artillery guns, and I essentially stood on a hill with my team and told them where to shoot.
Like the
That was
howitzers?
my job. Huh?
Like the howitzers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they shoot several kilometers, and we would go out. Forward observer teams would go out and tell them on a map and on the actual ground like where to shoot. And there was a lot of tools, back in my time. Now, when I deployed, so I spent a year in Iraq, um, and a year in Africa when I was in the Guard, and we didn't do any of that at all. It was
Yeah.
convoy security. So I was the gunner on the Humvee, and running through Afghanistan, like downtown Baghdad. Um, but got into that because I wanted to take care of the people. I like there's a need. There's the Bible verse, "Who will I call?"
Mm.
And so there's that need of like, if I'm able, I should take care of people. So came home from my last deployment in 2010. I came home from Africa. Went to my college advisor and was like, "Hey, I don't know what I want to do with my life." And she was like, have you ever heard of EMT? How about that? And I was like, "No, I have no idea what that is." It's 12 credit hours. It's full-time GI Bill, the whole thing. And I was like, "All right, sure. Let's do that and see what happens." Took that, fell in love with it almost immediately. I'd done a little bit of like buddy aid, first aid. The veterans will hear CLS and know what that is, combat lifesaver. And so we did that, and I was like a little bit familiar with some of that stuff. So started my EMT class, fell in love with it almost immediately. Did a couple of write-outs, was like, "Yep, I want more." Yeah. Graduated EMT in 2012. Went straight through and started my paramedic class. Mine was an online hybrid 18-month program. So as I don't like this, see also my video on dehumanization. So I don't like these terms, but I went 0 to hero. And then graduated paramedic February of 2014, started on a third-party government service at the largest geographically area in my state, which I believe is bigger than several other states, but at least I know it's at least bigger than Rhode Island. There's not a level 1 into that county, so our level 1 was 45 minutes away. Most of our transport times and calls were about an hour.
Gotta love rolling this,
right? So then did that for about 3.5 years, and then worked for the biggest, as far as population and size, in the state of Kansas, that was right next door to us, and spent about a year there while I was adjuncting at the college I graduated from. So we wear a lot of hats in the first responder profession. And started teaching full time, and that was a struggle. Like leaving the streets, I don't get to take care of people anymore. That was a huge struggle for me. And Sam, my coworker that I worked with, we were at a conference in Washington, D.C. at the National EMS Educators Conference. Had it out. I mean, like on the street at the side of, on the patio of a building, and she was just like, "You're doing this." And I was like, "I'm not ready to leave the streets." And she's like, "You have so much more to offer."
So it was almost like a love-hate relationship with like wanting to leave. Like you knew you could do better, but you were so attached to like the good you were already doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I get to help people. I get to respond to people. Period. It doesn't have to be the worst day of their life. It doesn't have to be the best day of their life. It doesn't have to be a birth or a death. I get to go help people. That's it.
I love that mentality. By the way. Just the I get to do this. Not I have to do it, but I get to do
it. There were days that were, sure, there's always days that are harder than others, and most of those have to do with your administration, have to do with your policies and whatever else. But even working with partners that were a little bit jaded or burnout, like I still got to do that. That was a thing that was, you get to. I get to wake up in the morning and do that. Was it a struggle? Sure, absolutely. But at the end of the day, that was the job. So the struggle I had in the fight, and I remember that, and I will always remember that day, that we had. And she was like, "You're going to do this," and I was like, I don't know. I kind of looked at it, stopped and looked at it from a shotgun effect, right? If I go out and treat one person, I've treated one person, I've helped one person. If I teach a class of 10 and they go out and treat one person, I have kind of vicariously treated 10 people.
Exactly.
Then they become preceptors and so on and so forth.
So that was we should be training our future. And if all we did was train people that work on the box and they never became trainers themselves, who is replacing them? It's kind of this, everything we do in life is like growing up, getting married, having a kid, and then teaching your kid to be the best dad or best mom that they can be so that they can do the same thing. And if they decide and there's nothing wrong with people that don't want to have kids, but when you stop essentially that bloodline, it's going to stop the growth. It's going to stop the teaching. It's going to stop people learning. And so I think if you really love doing what you're doing, such as being a paramedic or being a counselor, you should want to teach others to do your job. Real quickly, I was just telling my boss the other day, I'm not afraid to train somebody to take my position because I want them to take my position. I want to move up, and I know for a fact that I can't move up if somebody's not there ready to take my position. So, and then I also whoever
that's exactly it. You have to be comfortable enough in yourself to train the people to take a job. Like my goal as an instructor was always to teach myself out of a job, essentially. Like, I want my students to be so well enabled and so knowledgeable, and that they essentially were me but better. One day I'm going to retire. There's, we know the statistics on car crashes and whatever else. Like, somebody has to take my job.
Yeah, I mean, and then I would say there's nothing wrong with somebody who wants to be, and I hate to use this term, mediocre, because just because you're doing your job and you don't want to teach and you don't want to move on doesn't make you less of a person. But I feel like those people should not tear down the people who do want to do better. They shouldn't be called overachievers. They shouldn't be, put down because they're trying to better themselves. I mean, that plays a huge role into mental awareness, in itself, because if I'm trying to better myself and you make fun of me for it, I'm now down on myself going, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. So,
how dare you?
It plays a huge role.
How dare you know more than the bare minimum? That's ridiculous. Why would you do that?
Exactly. Well, let's get into some questions. I mean, I know we got into your background. I did want to ask, were you a medic during COVID? I
was teaching during COVID.
Teaching, okay. So you still actively hold your licensures, and I mean, I know you're not working on the box, but do you currently keep them updated and do CEUs and all that good stuff?
Yep. So, and that's actually, I get sidetracked a lot. I'm not.
You're fine.
You feel free to rein me in. So how I actually got to a counselor actually has to do with COVID, kind of. So that class, I want to say a class of, I can picture them all, could probably name them all. I believe 12, could have been 9 though. Like, I don't remember numbers in my head. That we were in class. It was a 12-month program. Everybody's there. All of a sudden, nobody's there. My colleagues were all at a conference and got COVID and exposed to it, but I was still at the office because we weren't sure. That's the 2 weeks, and you can go to work sometimes and you can't sometimes. So in that class, Mark and he and I got along fantastic. And I don't know if I'm allowed to name them. I'm going to name their names, whatever. Kate
I
was like,
probably just not last names. I think would be safe enough.
yeah, yeah. So Kate was in. I don't think either one of them would care. Um, Kate came from another country she was a paramedic over there, and then came here and was like, "Hey, how do I transfer my paramedic?" And our board was like, "Well, you go to EMT class, then you go to paramedic school." And she's like, "There's no like, you can't. I've
No
been
bridge
working as a
program.
paramedic for forever, and can I just like transfer or whatever?" And they were like, "No, you start over from scratch." So they went to EMT and paramedic school together. Um, and I taught both of those, so we'd known each other, their entire education basically. But Mark was a vet. He was an E7 in the Army, um, and so they graduated December of 2020 after going through the wear the mask, don't wear the mask, go to the ER, don't go to the ER. That time.
Yeah.
Kate called me in 2020 March 4th or 5th of 2021 and said, "Hey, Mark just killed himself," and that was a rough time. Hindsight's always 2020, and you always, you look back and you go, "Oh, I should have seen this or I should have seen that." But we talked about in our program, we talked about mental health and taking care of yourself and all that stuff, and we preached it. And I would get up in the middle of the night and answer the phone and go to hospitals or stations and kind of be there for people. And after that, I was like, all right, well, what am I doing? Love teaching, but at the same time, obviously we need more in this profession, and that's not enough. And so kind of made the decision in fall of 22. I started my master's program to go do the counseling thing, because I was like, we need it. There has to be more. I also credit Ginger Locke of the Medic Mindset podcast and Tanya Glenn, who's a first responder therapist down in Texas. But they did a podcast episode that I remember listening to in my garage, and Tanya said something about if you're a first responder, and so I'll echo that, if you're a first responder who has ever thought about getting into the mental health field or things like that, do it. We need you. We're so short.
I think a lot of people need to play it just personally as well. I mean, even if they don't feel that need to like do it as a job, maybe be the advocate in your job, like where you're at currently, that, like we're all safety officers, right? When we're on a fire or something like that. Everybody could be a mental health coach. Like you could be the most professional mental health coach there is. I come to you. It doesn't mean that you're this golden boy who hasn't had any trauma or anything happen to you. Everybody has had issues. And why I say that, because some people's like, well, I don't know what he's going through. Like, why would I tell him my things if I don't even know what he's going through? And it's like, that's fine. Like if somebody's willing to listen. Like, be the guy in your facility that people know they can come to. Make it known. Hey, if the next time you guys are at a training, if any of you guys need someone to talk to, I'm open. Like, obviously it's confidential, but he goes, I'm not here, and I don't want to step away one day and realize that one of you guys took your life in your backyard. Like, I would rather you guys have come to me and tell me that, hey, that call we just did was horrible, and talk about it, than not at all. And if for some reason the whole group itself, like the whole shift, wants to sit at the firehouse coffee table and talk about it as a group, that should be welcomed. Nobody should be faulted and be told that you're weak because we're having this episode of, man, I don't know if I can go to sleep tonight because that was rough.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's you talk about that. I'd rather listen to that. there's that saying of like, I'd rather listen to your deepest, darkest secrets and your stories and whatever's bothering you. I'd rather listen to you for 2, 3 hours talk about that than your 15-minute eulogy.
100%. I think that should be written on a T-shirt. Mental health support matters. I'll listen to you for 2 hours rather than a 15-minute eulogy. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
So I was reading some notes here that I pulled up, and I like to cheat. I use AI to kind of help bring up questions and ideas and things that would be good talking points. This one here says the medic coping mechanism. What are some common unhealthy coping mechanisms, isolation, avoidance, excessive drinking, that you see in medics and even firefighters? And what is one healthy swap you would recommend to those?
Good question. Thanks, AI. um, I think the two most unhealthy coping mechanisms that we see, and I'm sure, I remember writing a paper on it in my undergrad and then talking about it in my graduate program. Is that we are very good at self-medicating, right? And that doesn't mean I'm diverting medications from a patient, or I'm, addicted to something that's, fentanyl or opioids or whatever, abusing medications.
Can I throw something out there real quick on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Because what you just said, it doesn't necessarily mean medication, alcohol, nothing like that. And this is going to be very brash, and TikTok may even ban me for this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. What about things like pornography addiction? Because the dopamine you get from that release, like you're not addicted to drugs. Like you're like, oh, I'm not going to take drugs. I'm not going to do that. But you'll wank it every day, 3 times a day, because that helps you, de-stress.
And along those same lines, you look at our promiscuous behavior, right? First emergency, and I'm talking outside of EMS, but emergency medicine, first responders, the whole 9 yards. What are our rates of promiscuous or dangerous sexual behavior, extramarital affairs? Food is a big one that I'm going to get off.
The medics that get bigger. I mean, I'll say it. There's too many fat medics out there, and I'm going to get crap on that myself. But people, the excuse is, well, we're always posted up at QTs, or we're always posted up here, and there's no healthy food options. And it's like you can pack your food at 4 a.m. in the morning before you go to shift.
You could. This is not necessarily related to this question, but I would also say that there's a culture that encourages that. Our policies don't allow us to be as healthy as we should be or want to be.
100%. I think there should be, like, we have that 1 hour time difference of where, like, what do you call it? We can fill up the ambulance and wash it down, things like that. There should be a given time that, like, you could code out. I mean, we don't use 10 codes, but someone could say, hey, we're 10-8, and that means like the 30-minute, like, hey, I need to go to the gym and like lift some weights real quick. Like, they just walk in, go pick up some heavy shit and put it down, and now they're good to go.
Yep. And I'll be the first person. I'll also say, like, when I was working at a slower rural service for 24 hours and I had the opportunity, I didn't. I should have. I regret it. That's probably one of the biggest regrets, is like, I didn't take care of myself. I didn't go to school when I had the opportunity. I didn't further my career like I should have. But also I didn't take care of my body like I should have. So that led to a lot of other things later.
But that's not necessarily company fatigue. That's mental fatigue. That's, I work so much and I don't have time to do this. But there's a program that I like to get on, and I'm actually starting back up here in 2 weeks. It's called 75 Hard. Have you heard of it?
I have.
Okay.
I don't. I know it's like 75 straight days of like specific workout regimens.
So it's
Yep.
75 days with a gallon of water, 2 workouts a day. They have to be separated by at least 3 to 4 hours. So you'll do like a morning workout, and then in the afternoon you'll do an outside workout. One of those workouts has to be outdoors. I mean, obviously, don't be stupid. Put yourself in a tornado or something. But if it's raining, go for your run outside. Rain's not going to kill you. You
I
know,
was gonna
things
say,
like
man,
that.
we're gonna start that 75 days in the Midwest is in October is
Yeah,
cold,
I did it.
brave.
I did it last year, and it was snowing outside. I had a 50-pound weight vest. I put it on, and I'll actually send you a clip of the ring camera that I took of it. I was like, I'm not bitching out. Like I'm sitting there doing jumping jacks in the driveway with the 50-pound vest on, and it's snowing all around me. And I've gone too far to quit. And then I got to day 44
Amazing.
or 41 or something, and um, I I was like, I was reading my book and I was got real super tired because you read 10 pages a day as well. So I read my book and I was like, I only have like probably like 20 ounces of water left, and I go to take a big drink of it and I put it down and I was like, I'll drink my water in a minute, like I'll be fine. Well, I read my book and I immediately, I guess, got into this routine habit of okay, book down, bookmark, put it down, put my phone alarm on, and I went to bed and I woke up and I had 10 ounces of water left, and everybody that I talked to after that was, dude, it's 10 ounces of water. And I was like, that's the mindset. That's what everybody fails. Like they look at that 10 ounces of water from a gallon and they go, well, it was good enough. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was not good enough.
If you're supposed to do a gallon, that's a gallon. Like,
Yeah, that you're supposed to have the mental mindset, mental toughness to do everything the program requires you to do. So, you know, and why I bring all this up because we were talking about time and fatigue in the workplace is Andy Frisella, the guy who made the program, tells you flat out. He goes, "You don't recognize how much time you're wasting scrolling on your phone and everything else until you start doing this program." And you realize, like, oh, I had more time than I thought I did. Exactly, because you're sitting on the toilet for 30 minutes scrolling videos. That that 30 minutes could have been used to drink 20 ounces of water. It could have been used to read 10 pages of a book. It could have been used to go, start 30 minutes of your workout. Or, if you really had to use the restroom, maybe 20 minutes of a walk. And it's like, okay, well, you only have 25 minutes left of a walk. Go finish it.
mhm.
You're already in the middle of that walk. Go finish it.
Yeah.
And so people make excuses because it's complacency. They see everybody else around them not doing it, and because they're not doing it, they have no pressure on themselves to do it themselves. And I
Right.
feel like if it was embedded that I'm not saying everybody has to go out and do 75 hard during, their 12-hour shift. I'm just saying that if people made choices to bring their food to work, you're at a QT, you're posted up at a QT. Okay, well, if you had enough time to walk inside that QT and go buy some roller griller items, sit in line and pay for it, you have enough time to go stick your food in their microwave for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and heat your food up. And if everybody, and this goes back to creating culture, you create the culture you want, the culture that you really need. But if that culture isn't there, you're not going to do it. So if I was with somebody and every day they went to the gym and every day they were eating their food, I'm going to be like, dude, how do you do it? Like, I want to know how you do it. And, I'm on shift with you. And if he says, why? Well, at home, I spend time doing this. Okay, cool. What can I do to cut down on home time to make sure that my food is ready for the next day on shift? I want to be like this guy. If he's ripped and buff and, he looks like super medic over here, like I don't give a damn what they call me. Like, I want to look like that guy. Like,
Mhm.
you're like, that's the culture that I want. The culture I want is I want to look good. And how do I look good? You look at the guy that looks good and you say, hey, how do you do it? Same thing
I
with being happy. You look at a guy who's happy and you say, hey, man, you're always happy all the time. What's wrong with you? Well, nobody's probably going to admit to going to therapy or counseling. But if that was the culture, if that was the standard, and someone says, what, man, I didn't think about going to counseling for a long time, and I started going, and I'm just a lot more happier now. If people weren't afraid to stand up and say, I go to counseling, I go to therapy, and I felt
mhm.
much better when I did it, much more people would be going to counseling and therapy.
Right. Two things two things there. One, why is that the norm, right? Like why is that?
Because it's the easy thing to do.
Sure. Which brings me to my second thing is if you think about it, and an analogy I like to use is picture your table, right? I don't know size differentials and whatever with
Yeah.
your family dynamic, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're standing on your kitchen table and you're happy and you're elevated and you're having a good time, and your wife is standing on the floor next to that table and she grabs your hand and you grab onto hers, is it easier for you to pull her up or for her to pull you down?
Uh, that's a hard one.
She
I mean, it could go both
100
ways.
100% of the time she's pulling you down. Like when you think about like the average of everything, just gravity and center of mass and all that stuff, right? It's
Oh,
easier
okay.
for me
Yeah.
to pull you. It's easier for me to pull you down off of the table than for you to pull me up. Like I'm
Okay.
a
Yeah.
220
That makes sense.
pound,
Because
right? So
gravity.
yeah, and so it's the same thing with that mindset of like when you're happy and you're elated and you're going to work and you're having a good mindset and you go in and somebody else is like not having a good day and not having the best day, 100% of the time you have to, it's a struggle for you not to come down to their level and to be as disappointed and as upset and as shitty as they are.
Mm.
And so the problem where that comes from, right? Why can two people get on the same truck? Why can they get on the same apparatus? Why can they go to the same, if you're law enforcement, why do they go to the same crew briefing, get in two separate cars and drive off? Dispatchers, the same thing. Like why does one dispatcher and another dispatcher have the same job, that they interact with the same people? The call is a flip of a coin, and it's just acceptable to go, oh yeah, this person's positive and this person's negative. They're having a good day, they're having a bad day. When it's holding feet to the fire, those services allow that to happen. They allow the culture to exist that says, no, we expect you to come in and clock in. We don't care as long as we don't get a complaint. We don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the worst thing that could happen. That's the absolute worst thing that could happen. That's how we have suicide rates that are 20%, 10% higher than the rest of the population. We have substance abuse rates of 30 to 40%. If we believe self-reports, we have turnover every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The average career of a paramedic's like 5 or 6 years or something like that. Like that's absurd. We have to fix that, and that starts with our policies, not with our paramedics and EMTs.
Exactly. I mean, but it also continues with us though, with the paramedics and EMTs. It starts with policy, but we have to be able to enact that. And to expand, you said something right at the beginning. If you come on shift and your partner is having a bad day, and you see them having a bad day, what is so wrong with looking over at them and going, "Hey, man, you okay?" And if they're
Right.
like, "Yeah, I'm fine," okay, that may be one thing, but like, hey, man, I get it. Talking may sound weak, or maybe you just don't want to do that, and that's fine. But if you want to talk, my phone's always open. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you're drunk. Call me. Like I'll listen. And they may just be like, "Okay, dude, whatever, back off." Like you're invading my space. But at 3 a.m. in the morning, when they're thinking about ending their life, they're gonna remember that, hey, he said I could call, and it's probably gonna happen. They're probably gonna call you and say, "Hey, what's up? Like I need help." And it all started
Um,
with because you, the person, noticed something, and instead of letting it be and let it happen, you said, "Hey, how can I help you?"
right. I think there's also the we need to be as peer, like we talk about peer support. As peers, we need to be a little bit more direct, a little bit more And I get what you're saying. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, hey, dude, you seem off today, right? Like, are you okay? There's a concept in psychology, and I will say that it is a kind of disputed idea. Everything in psychology is, and everything in counseling is like theoretical, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's a thing called I'm gonna have to look this up. We'll put it in the notes or something later. I think it's the Johari window, but it's a box or a grid. There are things that you know, and the things that other people know about you. There's also a things that are known to others but not known to you. Meaning,
So I got it pulled up. You want to read it?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So it's the Johari window is a psychological tool used to improve self-awareness and understanding between individuals by categorizing personal information into 4 quadrants: the open area, known to self and others; the blind area, unknown to self but known to others; the hidden area, known to self but not to others; and then the unknown area, the unknown to both self and others. It is
Yeah.
often used in team building to increase communication, trust, and openness.
Right. So that what was the second one that you? Well, I don't remember what you called it, but where somebody else sees it in me, but I don't.
The blind area.
The blind area, right? So I think I'm fine. Maybe I think I'm fine. Maybe I truly believe I'm fine. But I walk in and my shoulders are hunched down and my tone of voice is different. Maybe I'm more irritable, but I don't see that. But you do. We one need to be more aware of like calling that out at each other, but two, be open to that criticism. And
Mm-hmm.
if I walk into my office now and my colleague's like, "Hey, dude, you're off," I I will stop and go, "Oh, hang on, am I off? What's wrong? What am I feeling right now? What's going on?" And then there's that other area that like, yes, I will. You everybody has secrets from everybody else, right? There are things that nobody else will
Mm-hmm.
ever know about me. That's just the way that it is. But it's that area of
Well, it's
that
not
we
like
need to
you have
be
to
open
tell
to.
somebody your entire life story, because some of
Yeah,
those hidden
absolutely.
things that you don't tell anybody may not be the things that are affecting your current mood or affecting your current offness.
Right,
Yeah, and people
right,
need to be
absolutely.
acceptant of someone saying, "Hey, you're off today," and not take it as an offense. They
Yeah.
need to like, "Am I?" and really think about it.
hmm That's I think that's the biggest thing of like if someone else says to me, especially somebody that I work with, you know, for several months, and we're the only two ones on the truck, because I work third service EMS, so it was me and my partner. If they go, "Hey, dude, you're off today," I wish I would have been better. In at that time, I wish I would have been better at saying, "Oh, how am I off? What
Hmm.
about me is off? Like, what do you see?" And not just a no, I'm fine. It's fine. And just dismiss it because that doesn't
I
help
like what you
anybody.
did there, though. I like what you did with asking them what seems off. Like, I mean, like, what am I doing abnormally to you? Well, you're just more agitated. Well, I'm dealing with whatever, and it's kind of like,
And explore that. Like, how do you see that? How do I see him more agitated? How do I come across as more agitated? And there other people see things about me that I will never see,
mhm,
and that's just being human.
100% agree with that. Um, go to one more question here, and this one I
Yeah.
thought was really good. Where did it go? Yeah. So peer support, because this goes into the topic of what we're talking about. Peer support versus professional therapy. What is the difference between an effective peer support system and clinical therapy, and how should the first responder know which one they actually need?
You need both. If I'm being honest, you need both. I am a professional counselor. I have a therapist that I see on a regular basis. Like just because I am a mental health professional doesn't mean I need mental health professional. The difference is when you find that good fit for you. The difference between that clinician, that therapist or counselor and peer support is a little bit of the safety that comes with the legal and ethical aspect of it. So I cannot talk about who my clients are legally. Ethically, before the laws come into play, I will not talk about who my clients are. I don't disclose them. And I know those things happen, you talk about HIPAA and PHI, and they occur in both things. But the ethics are a little bit different. And there were times I remember in, working a truck, it would be like, oh, we went to 1234 Main Street. That's a PHI. That's a breach. You can't do that. That's illegal. Counseling wise, it's the same laws, but I won't. It has never. I won't do that.
There should be a fail safe.
Yeah, and so
I will say I want to add to what you're saying there. And guys, by the way, thank you for all the likes. I saw the comment where Blake Reconnaissance said, 1.6 thousand likes, and my thumbs are killing me, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Into Shift Apparel. Thanks for joining in and liking and gifting and all the good stuff. I mean, it means a lot to someone who doesn't do this very often. It makes me feel like I want to keep doing it because people care. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing. My personal, because I went to therapy myself after my divorce, and it helped me out a lot. I'm still not divorced, but again, that's that getting too far. I don't mind it, but to touch on it, that's the getting too far into the personal life details that don't necessarily matter, but they do matter.
So that might actually be that. Without getting into it, that might be a really good example. Peer support is good for, dude, I'm struggling because whatever's going on with my personal relationship, I'm just not in it today and I'm having a hard time. And maybe I just ran a call that was a domestic or was something like that, and two people that got into a fight or whatever, and you're screaming at them from your experience and who you are with the experiences you've had, and you're like, you don't have any idea how good you have it, and that bothers you internally, and you bring that back to the station. That's where peer support comes in, right? So you can talk about how that made you feel. You can offload that with one of your peers and one of your colleagues who should ethically, aside from policy and aside from the law, should keep that between the two of you. If they're not, fire them from the peer support team. Your professional counselor or your therapist then comes in, and that's where you get to work on the bigger impact of that, right? Like, how has your divorce and how has that separation impacted the rest of your life? And actually getting into the deep-seated, like, the cognitions that we have. And sometimes, like, I'm not one of those guys that's like everything is childhood trauma, but why do you think that way? Why do you believe that way? How does it impact you? How did we get here? And so therapy and counseling is an ongoing, longer process than just peer support. That's kind of in this moment, this is bothering me. I've seen my therapist.
Shift Apparel. End of Shift Apparel said something. He said, I saw a coworker find his way out of a management position because of a horrible divorce. Said that he was not offered more support at the time. I would say,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Did he make it more open? Like, what was it, a known issue? And the things that led to him losing his management position. I'm not blaming him whatsoever when I say this, but I got more into this, like the EAP stuff. I had to use that that's how I got my therapist in the first place, was because I didn't have money to pay for a freaking counselor. So I got 4 free sessions, and I went to those 4 sessions, and I found out, that it was one, it was worth it, but 2, it cost a lot of freaking money afterwards. And that's one reason why people don't want to go, is because of the affordability. 2, did you wait too long to ask for help? Did you get yourself into a predicament? Did you start using drugs? Did you start slacking on paperwork? Did you do anything in a way to jeopardize your position before you said, look, I had enough. Because in my personal case, like I was going off the rails and I was like taking phone calls at work. I was yelling in the background. And my boss came to me. He was like, hey, before any of this happens, you either A, need to step outside or we need to have a conversation. So I was like, okay, well, let's go have a conversation because we need to talk about this. So talked to my boss about it, and he was like, use the EAP. Told me. I was like, oh yeah, I do have that because you're not thinking of these things when you're having an issue. And I think what saved me is and why I'm not like I don't know this guy from Adam, but some people push the envelope too far before they ask for help, and then at some point there's no turning back.
I'll challenge that though. Some people, your statement of some people push the envelope too far, right? And was he using drugs? Was he drinking too much? Was he self-medicating?
I guess to
Why?
clarify, people will get caught before they say I have a problem, and then
Yes.
once they're
Why?
caught, then they say I have a problem.
Sure. Why doesn't the system exist? Why doesn't the culture exist? Why don't they feel safe admitting they have a problem until they get caught?
The same way I told my therapist that if she put me on antidepressant drugs and ruined my chance of becoming a full-time career firefighter, I was going to end it. Because if you ruin it for me and I can no longer become a firefighter because you put me on drugs, I'm done.
Yep. And we have this, the stigma will persist and will remain about diagnoses, and maybe it happened once, maybe it's happened in the past. I'm not even sure. Like, nobody on my employment applications ever has asked me about a diagnosis. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's asked me to sign a release for them to see my medical records. I'm not sure where that came from. And granted, I've only been in this profession for 10 years. I've only been a
But that's what
counselor
I
for a year
thought.
and a half. But like,
That's what I thought, and
that's what
it
somebody
scares
told
me.
Yeah, that's what somebody told you. But who told them that, and who told them that? And so I think there's a study, and I don't remember who did it, but it's called Rat Park. And the study was, if you put a rat in a cage and you give them opioids and you give them water, 100% of the rats will overdose and die off of the opioid water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did this study with hundreds of rats, put them in a cage. You give them heroin water and water, and 100% of them will overdose and die. So somebody comes along later and looks at the study. That's where the opioid ban came from, right? Like, drugs are bad. Back in the 70s, 80s, we have to ban them. They will kill everybody. Somebody came along later and was like, but rats are social creatures, right? So he built Rat Park, Rat Utopia, put all these rats together. Half of them, he got addicted to opioids and put them in there, and the other half were not addicted. And he gave 100% of those rats, addicted and non-addicted, the choice of opioid water and regular water. And 0% of the rats ever overdosed and died. Mm-hmm. And almost all of the addicted rats went in there and voluntarily went through withdrawal to become a productive member of society. They could breed, they could procreate, they could play, they could socialize, all that other stuff. When we ostracize people because of substance use or abuse or whatever, all we're doing is putting them in that cage and giving them the choice of overdose or going through that on their own, and they won't do it. They will never do it. And that goes within our professions too. If we say you're not allowed to socialize with us because you have a problem, they're going to continue to have that problem in silence.
Because they're going to end up saying, well, if I'm already screwed, I might as well go ahead and eat the whole bullet.
Yep. Nothing's worth living for. This hurts too much. I don't have any support. And even if I do have support, I feel like too much of a burden to talk to them or to call them.
I mean, in this professional first response journey, you could even relay that into police officers on why they have to tack on many more charges on somebody because they're saying, well, if I'm already going to jail, I might as well make it count.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to just keep going because I'm already in trouble. There's no incentive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you provide that incentive, and he said, End of Shift said, and let's see, it was completely known. Ironically, another manager that had fired him also went through a divorce, and later had to apologize because he had no clue how hard it was. His problem ended up being just not completing his tasks. So there you have one guy ostracizing one guy because he's going through a divorce, then end up going through a divorce himself and goes, oh,
yeah,
didn't know how hard that was.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you notice, and that's maybe my biggest thing, right? Like, we're all humans, we're all people, we're all individuals. If you notice somebody else not doing something, confront them gently and talk to them about it and say, hey, you seem off, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're normally a lot more happy-go-lucky than you are. Is everything all right? Are you feeling, one, is it a physical, like, are you feeling okay? Is something else going on? Do we need to, can we sit and talk about it on the apron in one of those conversations? Or do we need to, like, get you some professional help and get you through this? Like I'm concerned about you. I don't give a shit about the job. I'm concerned about you. Once we take care of you, you'll take care of the job.
Absolutely. So, handling the haters, being a mental health professional on a public platform can bring criticism. How do you manage this scrutiny and negativity while maintaining your own health?
I've only made I didn't get into this to do anything. I've only made, I think, like, I'm less than 30, like, TikToks or whatever. I still don't know what I'm doing with this.
Has anybody ever commented negatively? Have they
not that I'm aware of. And I think I've responded to everything. There have been a couple comments. I won't name them, but there's a couple comments that I'm like, that rubbed me a little bit wrong. But I try to, put myself in their shoes. Where are they coming from in their life, and how do they come from that? There's also, if I can shout out other creators, not in this realm. There's a dude that I have been friends with and followed for several years that is in the beard industry, actually. I know that comes as a shock that I would follow one of those people. But his name is Dan C. Bearded. And he has talked about this several times, and I kind of adopted it from him. Negative engagement is still engagement. I don't know, kind of like I just said, one, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know why you're in this space that you feel like you need to say that to me. And if you want to talk about that, I'm here for it. And I will, and we'll, even take it offline and, like, DM. But also, thanks for helping the algorithm that I don't actually care about. Yeah, like,
I had one of those
you're
myself.
commenting it and you're watching it, like, good, thanks, much appreciated.
Yep. So, post-call debriefing, very informal. We talked about peer support versus professional support.
Yep.
And the tailboard talk, right? So, the old grumpy men sitting around the old fire truck in the apparatus bay talking about, their experiences or stories they've come across or something like that. What are one or two quick informal things a crew can do at the tailboard after a particularly rough call to help process the event before heading on to the next call?
Breathe and walk. That your very specific deep inhalation and deep breaths will engage your parasympathetic nervous system, and calm down because your parasympathetic and sympathetic are, like, directly opposed to each other. They cannot both heighten at the same time. So when you engage your parasympathetic nervous system through breath work, that will calm down your sympathetic. And that's after a call, during a call, whatever. Take a deep, full breath 2 or 3 or 4 times. and not necessarily box breathing, but just quite literally deep breath. Water. Make sure you're hydrated, because we're really good about. So I'm adding a third thing in here: water. We're really good about energy drinks and coffee and Mountain Dew and alcohol, and none of those. They all contain water. None of those are water, so we're chronically dehydrated. And three, go on a walk. It doesn't have to get your heart rate up. It doesn't have to produce a sweat or anything like that. Just literally walk around the station and move your body helps you process those things. And you've seen, and I don't think there's any scientific evidence for this, but you've seen the thing going around social media lately about like the shimmy.
Yeah.
Same concept, right? Like move, actually move. And then when you get home from shift that day, so after the difficult call, that too, but then when you get home from the end of shift, go inside, change your clothes, take a shower, whatever, and then grab a bottle of water and go on a walk around the block. It doesn't have to be a long walk. It doesn't have to be, just move your body.
Perfect. One or two more questions if you're okay with it.
I've got plenty of time.
Cool. So I'll let you take your pick. Out of the four, we'll do a couple of them. Common issues, cumulative stress, work, life, sleep, or barriers to seeking help. What sounds like something you could
want to know about?
just like, what do you know more about on these topics?
Tim just said at the end of shift, apparel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change your clothes. Put on a funny T-shirt, which is quite comfortable, by the way. Not sponsored.
And I know a certain guy that's a baby in the comment section who can provide you with some new clothing if you need it. Okay, well, let's just do cumulative stress. In the fire service and EMS, we often talk about one bad call, but how much of a mental toll is due to the cumulative effect of repeated smaller stressors, and how can we recognize that buildup?
The most of it. So compassion, fatigue. Also, you hear that as there's PTSD, right? Which is, it has to come from one. And you look at the DSM, and it's like acute stress disorder and then post-traumatic stress disorder. They're the same. Acute stress disorder is less than 30 days from the event. Post-traumatic stress disorder is greater than 30 days from the event. But it has to be one specific event. And then you've got complex PTSD, which is not into the DSM yet, but it is in the ICD-11. So it's internationally, it's recognized in our, and I've got like the book of psychological disorders. It's not in there. It's just post-traumatic stress disorder.
You already just dropped some knowledge on me. I had no idea about ATSD. Of course, we all hear about PTSD, but the acute stress, that's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, acute stress disorder is the first 30 days. But the signs and symptoms and how they're intrusive into your life are the same. The big thing is it stems from that one event, right? Cumulative post-traumatic stress disorder is that being repeated. So maybe I run several codes over the course of a month. One of them didn't bother me, but the total of all of them did. And I think that's, generally speaking, that's what gets to us, is that compassion fatigue. And I will die on the hill. I don't think this study has actually been done. I don't think the data exists, but I will die on my hypothesis hill that it's not the critical calls that get to us, it's the other ones. And that's, we started off this conversation early on in the episode of, I get to take care of people.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop thinking that way, and we stop acknowledging that, and we go, oh, I had to go to a lift assist, I had to go to, we use triage colors around here. I had to go to a green, I had to go to a yellow that wasn't sick, it wasn't critical, people are abusing the system. I didn't get paid by the call. I got paid by the hour. And so the idea that I think some of that is internal. I think some of that is internal. A lot of that is internal. If I don't acknowledge my patient's humanity, I'm going to get stressed about those calls. And if I don't offload that stress, then every single call I run is going to cause me stress and going to be the end of me.
Well, I think, and I had to look this up to make sure that I was saying it right, but it's speaking on psychology, trying to train yourself to not be so stressed on every call that even when you get repeated calls, reminds me of Pavlov's dog. You know, it's it's the ringing of the bell. It's the, it's I do this
Bell
and you do
ring,
that.
dog salivates. Yep.
Yeah. So as soon as you were talking about that, and I was like, well, it's kind of like a
Conditioned
conditioned.
response. Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would take it a step further than that. When you talk about conditioned response and classical conditioning, um, tones go off, we get heightened, right? If it's not critical, we get pissed.
Mm.
Like that's the next level of that conditioning that happens is what do you mean a fucking lift assist? Sorry, am I allowed to swear on here? I'm going to.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
What do you mean a lift assist? Like I have to go whatever. I remember
Mm-hmm.
one of the best calls, one of my favorite calls that I ever got to go on, that I will carry with me forever from both sides of like sad and happy, is I microwaved my patient's Powerade. Like I have never microwaved Powerade before, but I went to her house. She needed, help up. There was nothing medical about it. She was just, as we all age and a little bit older, needed some help, but the system wasn't there for that. She didn't need an ER, and she didn't need the bill, and she didn't need our bill. I was on scene for an hour and a half. And she was like, I was like, hey, can I make you a sandwich? Can I get you something to drink while we call all these other people? And she was like, yeah, there's like a pallet of Powerade next to her stove. And she's like, I'll take a Powerade. And I was like, okay. So I put it in a mug. She's like, I want it in a mug. So I put it in a mug and I handed it to her. And she goes, no, can you heat it up for me? I said, sure. So I'm like, who drinks hot Powerade? Right? So I was like, heat it up like in the microwave. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, all right. So I put it in the microwave for like 10 seconds. And I was like, who drinks hot Powerade? Like in my head, I'm going through this. Who drinks hot Powerade? So how hot? So 10 seconds, like 10 seconds. And I put it down in front of her and I'm like, here you go. And she like pushes it back to me and she goes, no, hot. And I was like coffee hot? She's like, yeah. Dude, I will never forget that. Like the laundry and the, we changed her bedding, my partner and I, we eventually had a supervisor come out, changed her bedding, did her laundry, contacted family members, contacted everybody that we could think of. And that was the frustrating part of like, fighting the system, but also with all of the other radio traffic and all of the other critical calls, that is one that I will always carry with me of I got to do that. I got to be there in that person's life and I got to take care of them. And instead of it being a compassion fatigue thing, I chose to carry that with me as it took a lot of work from my therapist, but I got to the point where that call I could take with me as a way that I was able to be there for someone else.
Yeah. I think a lot of people choose not to do things like that, even though they feel like they want to, because the policies and they feel like they're going to get in trouble. But I work for a very small rural.
Good luck.
Yeah, a very small rural area, and so we have one ambulance. At least at this time we did. Now we have a transfer unit and we have a 911 unit. But regardless, I was out on this call and this lady just needed somebody to talk to. She needed a couple things done here and there, and what I did was I politely told her, I was like, ma'am, I have no problem staying here and helping you, but if we get another call, I do have to leave. And I was like, but I'll help you out for the time being. And we weren't like super busy. Like it wasn't like, oh, I was going to get a call in 10 minutes. It could have been an hour. It could have been 10 hours. I was on there for 24 hours. Our call volume was like 560 a year. So wasn't huge, but sometimes we were stomped all night and sometimes we weren't. But I politely told her, and I called dispatch. I said, hey, and this is where I called him on the phone. I left it off radio traffic. I was like, hey, this is Isaac Poteet with Country Corner Fire. We're going to be on scene, but go ahead and show us clear. I'm just going to help this patient out, do what she needs. But if we happen to get a call, just show us available. And she's like, okay. Yeah. And I didn't get talked to about it. I didn't get told that was the wrong thing to do. It felt right to be there. I mean, what was I going to do? Go back to the station and play video games or do nothing? I mean, if for my service, we had a station, the EMTs did, and we could, hang out in the what we call the day room, and we didn't respond to fire calls. The volunteer firefighters responded to calls. The medics who were on scene were dedicated to the medic truck, and so like if there was a fire, we would be like, okay, are we needed? And I'm fire trained, so sometimes it was, hey, my chief would call me and say, hey, get your gear. So and so is going to cover you on the truck. Got it. At that point, I knew that, but even then we would help our places out. We go and start the trucks, get them running, all that whatnot. But that being said, that allowed us to stay at a patient's house, like what I did, to help her out, because we weren't having to move over and over and over, 9, 10, 12 calls throughout a 12-hour, 24-hour shift. It was doable. Is it doable for every single service? No, but it was doable then. So if you can do it, do it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
And when it, in some cases.
Well, everybody keeps talking about the paramedic shortage, right? Like, or the EMS shortage overall, right? We're short firefighters. Volunteer firefighter is almost like dead. Law enforcement's got a shortage. Everybody's short. If you don't think me taking care of a human being is working out in this profession, and like if you're my service director and you're like, hey, you're spending too much time on scene caring for people, fire me. I will go next door. Like I'm a medic. I will go find a new job.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
And well, I mean, I've had this person literally call my chief, and that's how I know I didn't get talked to about it, and he knew about it. And they gave us accolades and said I want to praise your crew. They helped me out with everything I needed, and it was just, I didn't ask her to call and give me a 5-star review on Google. I just did what I needed to do because it was the right thing to do. My partner at the time, he was sleepy. He was kind of like, I want to go home. I want to go to bed. I'm just like, a few more minutes. Let's just finish up. What kind of dog you got there?
He's a foster pit bull.
Oh, look at that.
He's a foster, but he's been with us for like 3 years now.
Such a baby.
Yeah.
Name?
Gary. We call him Grumpy Gary because he always looks pissed off.
Grumpy Gary.
He's got RBF.
What's that?
Resting bitch face.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about like an actual dog disease or something. I was like, is that something I'm not familiar with?
No, he's just an asshole.
Alrighty. Let's do one more. Barriers to seeking help. What is the biggest barriers you've observed personally that prevent first responders from seeking help? And what can a department do, or what can a department or peer do to lower those walls? Such as fear of losing their job, a gun, driving privileges, stigmas, confidentiality purposes. What have you personally witnessed, and what can be changed?
So there's a couple things. One, I think there's a place for, and I'm not I'm not talking about any specific service. I'm not talking about any specific agency. I think there is a place for taking time to take care of your people. Take a truck out of service and let them go in a bunk room that's private and let them do telehealth with their therapist or counselor, or let them get in their POV and drive there. Take an hour and a half, 2 hours off. Just take them out of service, right? Yes, we have a lot of time off, but on that time off, we deal with a lot of other things. If you want your provider, if you're going to give them time to work out on duty and you're going to provide them with a gym for their physical health, you need to provide them with stuff for their, that place for their mental health. If I'm being honest, and one of the things, again, like I'm talking without a study and a citation, and I'm not a big fan of that. Like, that's not what I try to do. But it's the video I put out 2 days ago, no, a week ago, with the little chair thing. Like, you're not special. One of the biggest barriers we have is that we're like, oh, my therapist doesn't understand me. I think a lot of the times we walk into therapy or we walk into counseling not wanting to be there and not being comfortable there and looking for an excuse not to be there. And so if our therapist or our counselor shows a little bit of emotion, we view that as bad. And we go, oh yeah, no, I'm not going back to that because they don't understand me, because I'm that unique of a human being that I'm just not going to go back, when we're not. It's different. The job is different. The culture is different. I think that's the big thing, is like we try to, like, I'm such a nuanced person as a middle-aged white guy, paramedic, counselor, dog foster, married with my kid has moved out of the house. If I don't find a counselor that meets all 8 of those criteria, they're not going to get me. I will never find that counselor, ever. Ever. So I don't need. Should I be culturally competent? Absolutely yes. As a mental health clinician, should I be culturally competent with the clients that I work with? Yes, absolutely, 100% of the time. Do I need to know and have a degree in accounting or have worked with Excel extensively to provide counseling services for an IRS agent? No. Stress is stress. Depression is depression. Human emotion is human emotion. Therapists, and that's legitimately why I started this page. Therapists and counselors and mental health clinicians need to understand first responders more. First responders need to stop hiding behind our shield or our badge or our patch and using that as an excuse not to seek help.
Absolutely. I think we just need to get out there more often and tell people, especially like with your expertise and your help, let them know, like, they can't just take your gun from you because you admitted that you were weak and
right
for a moment or whatever, and say that, hey, I have depression. Like, that, they can't do that. They have, like, you can't say I murdered somebody and then, expect them not to say something. Like, there is a point of which too much is too much. But
that's the difference between counseling and peer support. If you come in my office and you tell me you murdered someone and it wasn't a minor or a disabled or an elderly person, I can't report it.
Really? Thought there was a duty to report.
It goes state by state. I have a duty to report. In this state, I have a duty to report if I believe and you make it clear that you are going to leave my office and go harm someone. Like, I am going to go kill. I'm walking out of this office right now and I'm going to kill myself or someone else. Yeah. That I have to report and I have a duty to warn. But if it's not child abuse, child neglect, elder abuse, elder neglect, or somebody who's been adjudicated mentally deficient, for the most part, I cannot disclose that. I cannot talk about it.
All right then.
Here's the thing. In my state, the laws, the actual like statute that protects counselor client or therapist client relationships says will be viewed the same as attorney client privilege.
All right then. That makes sense. Here, I'm not over here planning anything. Don't worry.
I'm not saying,
I'm just
yeah, please don't go kill someone and then go to counseling and be like, hey, I killed someone. Like, let's talk about that before you get to that point. But
yeah. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, maybe we shouldn't be talking about that, but somebody
but
in this public universe is going to go, wait a minute.
yeah, but that's the thing though, is like that relationship and that with your clinician, with your mental health clinician, you need to be that open, right? There are things that I haven't told my counselor or my therapist that I've been seeing for 10 years. It took me 8 years to open up to her. And that's, I knew it was protected. I knew she couldn't tell anybody, but it was that own internal. And it took me a long time. So if you're having that issue, you're not alone, but that's something we need to work towards, is being open with our clinicians, because they can't help us if they don't know everything.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Well, I'll put this to an end, and then I'll be more than welcome to have you back on for another episode sometime in the future if you're willing to do it. Maybe we can talk more about expertise and stuff.
Happy to.
So, guys, my name is Isaac Pote. You have watched the episode of the Tales from the Tailboard podcast, episode 6, with the mental health medic. So if you like this, make sure you click subscribe, like it, share it with your guys, family, whatever you got to do to spread the word, get it out there. I do content with all and any first responders, police, fire, medical, military, you name it. If you have got an interesting story, hit me up in the DMs, let me know. Other than that, Cameron, thanks for coming on, man. There will be a copy of this whole transcript in your live events. So if you go to your live events, you can see it on there, and you can click the video and you can actually download it, and like all this frilly little stuff around it, like the comments and things like that, all that gets scrubbed off. So it's literally like just the video, and you can edit that down however you feel like. I try to make sure that the people that do interviews with me have a copy as well. So you have a copy to edit how you'd like. And I guess with that, I'll say thanks for your time. Is there anything else you want to add? Any questions? Anything like that?
Yeah. If anybody has questions or whatever, I'm open. Shoot me a DM. I am a counselor. I am not your counselor, but I am happy to have a chat.
I like that little throw in, like the guy that says, I am a lawyer, not your lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, thanks a lot, man. Let me end that real quick. Guys, you can find full episodes on YouTube. You can find shorts on TikTok. And with that, Tales from Tailboard. We'll see you on the next one.